Welcome back to Jersey Matters. We now come to you from a garage, but a very famous garage. This is Thomas Edison's garage. This weekend, if he were still alive, Thomas Edison would be 170 years old. He, of course, is America's greatest inventor and one of the greatest New Jerseyans, but he was in the forefront of electric cars. To explain that, and sitting in the garage with me is Karen Sloat Olson, who is the Chief of Interpretation and Education here at the Thomas Edison National Historical Park. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here, there's so many things we could talk about, because Thomas Edison is the inventor of the light bulb, of course, and the phonograph and motion pictures. But I don't think a lot of people know that he had some interest in electric cars. And that's one right behind you.
Yes, it's a locomobile. From
What's
about
it called?
Locomobile. It's an electric car. It was originally a steam vehicle. Edison was working on the storage battery. He was trying to improve it for the electric car, and he converted it to an electric vehicle so he could test out the battery. What worked, what didn't, how long could you get the battery to go for, run on a charge. All the same issues that we still have today with electric vehicles, Edison was working on back then.
Yeah, I don't think people realize. I think when you hear electric cars, you think, wow, this is a new thing. Everybody's doing it right now, but I don't think people realize they date back that far. How far exactly?
Into at least the 1890s. Edison purchased his first vehicle in 1897. We believe it was a Columbia electric car that he purchased. And he just kept buying electric cars throughout time.
And he was trying to help perfect them? Who was he working on this with?
Well, it was the battery that he was working on. So many different companies were purchasing the battery in order to improve their car. Baker Electric was one, Bailey Electric was another. This one just happens to be from, as I mentioned, the locomobile. I think it was the Anderson company who he was helping with. But it was the battery really is what he was working on, not the body or the car itself.
And this was big business back then?
Yeah, I mean, early on, the electric was just as important or as popular, if you will, as the gas. It's not really until you get into the electric car started that the gas starts taking over. It can run longer. It was easier to start by that point. But initially, what's kind of neat with the electric car, it was a car that many women would drive because it was easy to start up. Doctors for the same reason. When you had a crank car, you would crank it, and if you weren't doing it right, the crank could come back and actually either break or damage your wrist. So with the electric, you charged it up, you turned it on, and off you went.
Now everybody's talking about electric car because of the environment. Was that the concern then?
Not really.
Then why? I mean, were they just competing to see which one was going to work better?
I think that was part of it, yeah. It's something that was easy, you could take it anywhere, but not necessarily for the environmental reasons. It's like a lot of new technologies, whether it was electric or gas, both in lighting and in cars, which one is going to move forward first? And it's the technologies that's going to promote or push forward one particular vehicle or over another.
Now, we should say this just happens to be over your shoulder. This isn't the only car in the garage.
No, no.
And many of them run on more traditional fuels. Was there a time when Edison and the world gave up on electric cars?
Yeah, actually, I think there was. I don't know if they ever completely stopped with the electric, but even during Edison's lifetime, they really had switched over to the gas-powered. Although Edison had two steam cars, he called them, it was Misery and Discord, or I've heard another two names he called them was Disaster and Discord, because it took so much to keep them up and running, and they broke down so frequently that he finally gave up on the two steam ones. But he stayed with electrics for quite a while. Matter of fact, Mina, who was the driver in the family, drove her electric up until her death in '47.
Now, to get into here to see the garage, I had to go through a gate.
Yeah.
Why is that?
You're in a place called Llewellyn Park. It's one of the earliest residential communities, romantically developed, I think is how they referred to this one. Back in 1857, Llewellyn Haskell set up this area, country living for city folk. And you could purchase property, hop on the train, and head right into New York City. The house or the estate that we're on is called Glenmont, and a gentleman by the name of Henry Petter built the property in 1880. By 1884, it was discovered the money that he used to build the property and build the house was actually embezzled from the company he was working with. So it was sold back to the company. Edison is getting remarried. His first wife had passed away, and he offered his wife a home. He said, you know, do you want to live in the city or the country? And according to the family legend or family information, she chose the country, and they purchased the home here, Glenmont. He couldn't believe that money could buy such a beautiful home.
And I can see the estate from here. It's open for people to get to?
We're open March through end of the year, March through December, and we have tours usually on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. During the summer, we have some extended hours, but you can come up and take a tour. And it's not just the house. It really is an estate. We have the garage that we're in now. There's a potting shed and greenhouse, full working greenhouse. He had, if you can imagine, cows that wandered on the lawn. He had chickens. He had a barn. Even had a cement, well, looks like a pool. We're still trying to figure out a little bit about that piece, but it was a place where the kids played, and it's ultimately where Edison and his wife are buried. So they are buried on the property here.
And when are you open, and how do can people buy tickets online, or do they just show up? Or?
What you do is you go down to the laboratory complex. That's on 211 Main Street, and when you purchase your ticket, it includes a visit to the laboratory, and if Glenmont is open, and as I mentioned, it's Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, March through December. And your ticket, you get a special ticket for the house tour at that time. There's no additional fee for the house tour.
And that's wonderful. And they'll be able to meet you?
Oh, I might be around. You never know. They
Karen,
can ask.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Karen,
thank you.
A park guard here at the Thomas Edison National Historical Park, and she is also the Chief of Interpretation and Education. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Come and visit.
That wraps up Jersey Matters for this week. I'm Larry Menti. We will see you again next week.